Hey chess friends, welcome to a new video. Today we are going to continue studying typical mating patterns in chess. I saw you really liked the first and second video about this thematic, so today we are going to prepare the third video about typical mating patterns in chess. So if you like the idea of analyzing, understanding, learning 4 new mating patterns we can have in our chess games almost every day, stay there, watch, and think. The first mating pattern we are going to study is this one we call Lollies Mate. In Lollies Mate we use a pawn and a queen, and we can play something like this, like queen g7, and the queen is going to be protecting. Something important here in Lollies Mate is that our opponent has the fianchetto and doesn't have the bishop protecting the fianchetto. That's a problem. So there are many weaknesses here in dark squares. So let's see an example where we can win using this idea of Lollies Mate. It is white to move here, and white is winning. Actually, this is not too complicated. I think it's more or less easy to find. I will say the answer in some seconds, so pause the video if you want and try to find it by yourself. The right move to win here is just this strong but not too complicated move, queen h6, and the idea is that we have almost exactly the same basic position for Lollies Mate. We have the pawn and the queen, and that will be made with queen g7. Notice that black pieces cannot protect g7, cannot remove the pawn in the next move. There is no check either, so it is going to be checkmate in the next move. This is, by the way, this is an interesting mating net. We are threatening checkmate. There's no way for black to avoid it, so that's why it is a mating net here. So whatever black plays, let's say bishop takes pawn, we can play queen g7, and this is winning for white. The next position we are going to study is this one. This is what we call opera mate. In opera mate we use a bishop and a rook, and we are going to have a basic mate like this, with the rook protected by the bishop and the enemy king is on castle. That's the general idea. And also very important is that there is an enemy piece blocking the escape of the king. This enemy piece can be any piece other than the knight. Notice that the knight would be protecting this square d8. So that's the basic position for opera mate. Now let's solve a puzzle where we need to use this basic idea. It is black to move here. Black is winning. I will say the solution very soon, but I suggest you to pause the video and try to work by yourself. Okay, the way to win here is like this. Notice that we have a rook and the bishop here, and if we know this pattern of opera mate, we can think about this idea of attraction with queen f1 and then opera mate almost in 2 moves. So queen f1 and the king has to capture. This is an attraction, as I said, and then bishop d3, double check with bishop and rook. The only move is king e1, and then opera mate here. The next one we're going to study is Suffocation Mate. The idea with Suffocation Mate is that we have an important bishop controlling significant squares around the enemy king in the green diagonal, and then we will use the knight to give the final touch, maybe with knight e7 or knight h6 here. They are both working. As you can see, we need some enemy pieces blocking the enemy king. So that's the idea. This is the basic position. Now let's see an example of a puzzle where we need to win using this basic mating pattern. At this point it is white to move and white is winning. I will say it very soon, but try to find it by yourself. The way to win here is with a beautiful queen sacrifice. This is the move queen g5, and the idea is that we will be opening or clearing this diagonal, and notice that if black doesn't capture and they move the king, there will be checkmate here with queen g7 protected by the knight. So they can capture here. We cannot play knight e7 because the queen is protecting that square, but we can do it over h6. So knight h6, and this is Suffocation Mate in a real game. And the last mating pattern we are going to study today is this one we call the Mianos Mate. The idea with the Mianos Mate is that we have a pawn protecting our queen on h7 in this case, and also very important is that we need some enemy piece blocking the escape of the king. This piece is going to be very often a rook. So that's the basic idea. Let's try to use this in a real life puzzle. This time it is white to move, white is winning. Pause the video, take your time, and I will say the answer very soon. If we already know the basic position is much easier, now we see that we have the pawn, and what we need is to take the queen to a7, but we need to do it getting tempos, I mean like giving checks. Otherwise our opponent can play defensive move like pawn takes pawn, or give some checks over here or anything. So we need to take our queen to h7 so we can do the Mianos Mate, but it has to be with checks. That's the idea. Also notice that there are some pieces in the middle, so if our queen wants to go to the h file, it's not going to be so easy. So what we are going to do is to clear the line, clear the first line, and we're going to do that with some checks, and then our queen will be able to go to the h file also with check, and then we will have the Mianos Mate. So the first move is rook h8 when the king takes, then we come with the other rook, and now we repeat the same idea. We give a check here, attraction, and now our queen can come finally to the h file, and everything is ready to do the Mianos Mate. So this is the video I wanted to show you today. I hope you have enjoyed it. Also, today we finished this series about typical mating patterns. This is the third and last video about this thematic. I hope you have enjoyed these 3 videos. Also, I hope you have found this useful. If it was like that, give me some likes. It is very important for me to know what you really enjoy, what you really like in the channel. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and see you in the next.